Hi, my name is Jennifer Brown, and I'd like to talk to you about tuition and book costs at OCTC. Tuition and book costs are a problem for some, even at community colleges such as OCTC. Although the rates are much cheaper than those of a four-year college, some still can't afford them. Most students rely on financial aid to get through college. If you don't qualify for the full amount, or any amount for that matter, your only other option is student loans. An unsubsidized Stafford loan has interest added to the initial amount borrowed even during the student's enrollment. For example, a student borrowing $10,000 per year at an 8% interest rate will be having to pay back $48,666 at the end of the 4 years. There are limits to the amounts you can receive. Freshmen can receive $3,500 a year. Sophomores can receive $4,500 a year. Juniors can receive $5,500 a year, and seniors and fifth-year students can receive $5,500 a year. A subsidized standard loan is the more attractive option. If you have a subsidized loan, your interest is essentially erased by the government. Another good aspect is that you don't have to make any payments until after graduation. The limits for a subsidized loan differ from those of an unsubsidized loan. Freshmen can receive $2,000 for dependent students and $6,000 for independent students. Sophomores can also receive $2,000 for dependent students and $6,000 for independent students. Juniors can receive $2,000 for dependent students and $7,000 for independent students. And seniors in fifth year can receive $2,000 for dependent students and $7,000 for independent students. But either way, you are still building your debt. If you don't get a job immediately after graduation, then you're stuck with a payment you may not be able to make. Interest rates for Stafford loans are set to double July the 1st from 3.4% to 6.8%. This will only add to the stress and hardships of trying to go to college. The cost of tuition at OCTC per credit hour ranges anywhere from $130 to $465. It depends on if you are an in-state or out-of-state student and whether or not you're a new or returning student. If you maintain a full-time status, you must attend at least 12 credit hours per semester. That makes tuition cost anywhere between $1,560 and $5,580 per semester. Then you have to buy books, which is also outrageous. You may pay $700 for 3 or 4 books, and if you're lucky, you might get $150 when you sell them back. A lot of the time when you try to sell a book back to the bookstore, they will tell you it's an old edition and they can't buy it back. Even though it was brand new and shrink wrapped when you bought it 4 months earlier and you may have paid $200, you still get nothing. I just don't think it's fair to those who desperately want to get a higher education. Something needs to be done to make it more affordable to attend college. That's why I propose that tuition rates and book costs should be lower. Realistically, there's no way that it actually costs the school $390 or more for a student to attend one 3-credit hour class. This is price gouging and somebody's lining their pockets. Also, is it really necessary to pay so much for a book that you may or may not use? Even when you rent books, it's still overpriced. There have been occasions where I've bought a book for a class and never opened it. The professor had everything we needed to know and study typed up on Blackboard, so all of our tests came straight from our class notes and we never needed our books. That was money wasted. I think tuition rates should be lowered to $75 per credit hour. That would still make tuition for a full-time semester $900, which is more affordable than $1,560. The school could offer courses for this amount, they just don't want to. If you have a 3-credit hour course with 25 students, that would make the total tuition cost for the class $5,625. I think that's plenty. Factor in the total number of classes offered during a semester, and the numbers are probably much higher than I can even calculate. Book prices are almost as bad as tuition costs. I think the book prices should be cut in half, and they should offer more money when they buy the book back from you. There is no reason, except for greed, that anyone should have to pay hundreds of dollars for a book. I understand that they need to make money, but how is it that a book is worth $150 when a student buys it, but only worth $50 when you sell it back? Then they turn around and sell it to the next student for $150 again. There's no telling how much profit the bookstore's making. If you sell the same book at $100 100 times, that's $10,000. Odds are they're probably being sold more than that. If they're only paying you $40 when you sell it back, then they're still making $6,000 off of one book. To me, this is completely uncalled for. The government should be responsible for the costs. If the college is taking a loss because of lower tuition rates, which probably wouldn't be the case, the government should have education funds to help them out. I don't think the bookstore would even notice a change. It's just hard to believe that it costs that much to run a bookstore. Once again, someone is lining their pockets. They basically can get away with charging whatever they want because the student doesn't really have many options to get the book that they need. For those who receive financial aid, lower tuition costs and book costs would be beneficial as well. Even though they don't have to pay out of pocket, any money left over after tuition and book fees is theirs to use as they see fit. If the costs were lowered, they could pocket more money, which would help with the travel to college, for gas, and other supplies needed, such as a computer, printer, calculator, and necessary school supplies. If you receive financial aid, it's because you need it, so it's plausible to think that you might need money for those other things as well. Obama has made federal grants more readily available, which has made application for enrollment increase. Colleges are raising their tuition to stop so many people from getting into the school. This is unfair, and I don't think it's right. This year, President Obama is calling on Congress to advance new reforms that will promote shared responsibility to address the college affordability challenge. If these proposals are passed, this will be the first time in history that the federal government has tied federal campus aid to responsible campus tuition policies. This is the type of help that we need, and I hope that something can be done to put a stop to the rising tuition costs. There's so much emphasis put on getting a good education, but just as many obstacles standing in the way of it. It's nearly impossible to get a good job without some kind of degree. You hear all the time that there's a shortage of nurses, but no one's willing to make it easier for someone to get their RN. It's a lose-lose situation. If the colleges would lower their tuition rates and book costs, I predict that the percentage of people actually obtaining a degree would double. I'd like to thank you for listening. Goodbye.